Two.
Greetings and welcome on board the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It is entitled On the Mark. I'm Mark Lawrence. Believe it or don't, June is just about shot. It's the 26th day of June, 2014. So we
What was that old song? June is busting out all over?
Well, it's busted.
She must have gained some weight.
It is over. Well, if June is busted, we have a prosecutor here that's going to help us see the case.
He'll prosecute June now that she's busted.
Through the sentencing. We do have a guest in the studio. We're going to talk to him for the first half of the show. He is Bob Buhner Jr., former Montour County DA, experienced educator now in the classroom, still an attorney, serves as a solicitor for a number of boards around the valley. Very valuable guest in the Steve Jones show. Very informed on some of the sports around here, the men's and whether boys and girls sports around here, and men's and women's college sports around here. Bob Buhner Jr., we're just borrowing you from the Steve Jones show. I hope he doesn't mind.
Mr. Jones was a bit envious of my appearing on your show this morning. He mentioned that yesterday. Yeah, I love coming in and talking to one of the most knowledgeable sports commentators and broadcasters in literally the country. I had a background in broadcasting in my college days, news, sports, and weather in WKPS of Westminster College. I did a little football announcing and also did some news and some stuff like you do, Mark.
And you're on the board at Westminster College?
I am on the board of trustees at Westminster and an adjunct member of the faculty's teaching in the Criminal Justice Studies Department.
All right, well, fantastic. Bob Buhner Jr. with us. Valley Township is your municipality?
Well, no, I represent 9 local governments in Montour County, ranging from small rural townships to large municipal authorities. Just a hobby, something to do. As I was telling Joe before we went on the air, there is money in affluent. There's affluence from effluent.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That'd be a good title for a book, The Affluent Affluence.
Yes.
Right, in the influence it can
exactly.
Or becoming affluent with affluence.
Yes.
Affluence.
Affluence. Yeah, I learned that was a word I learned. I never knew what effluent was, and it's what goes down the toilet.
It's a nicer way of saying that, isn't it?
It's not what goes down the toilet, but what reaches the sewer plant.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Okay.
There's all kinds of stuff that reaches the sewer plant, so I learned.
Doesn't necessarily go down the toilet, right?
Yes.
So it's not like this show is right now, anyway.
Anyway, so
We're headed there. We're circling the drain.
So I've done a lot of work in that area. That was one of the areas. I've always been interested in local government, having been in the political arena for over 25 years. So, yeah.
All right, well, fantastic. Thank you so much for being with us. So we're going to talk about the Kathleen Kane news conference this week, if you really want to call it that, more just a prolonged announcement and with an abrupt end to it, so we can talk about that. And we're also going to talk about cell phone security and safety because the U.S. Supreme Court had a ruling yesterday talking about this. Really pivotal ruling, I think, in terms of what police can do. So we're going to discuss that while we got the solicitor in the house. You are listening to On the Mark. I am Mark Lawrence. Bob Buhner Jr. is with us. Our co-host today, Joe McGranahan. We have producer 1A in the control room next to us, and that would be Rob Center filling in for the vacationing Kevin Herr, who is basking in the beach areas of, I don't know, he's like a South person. I don't think he goes to Jersey.
No, he's a South Carolina guy, I believe. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, who knows? So try not to visualize.
The thought of Kevin basking is enough to set me off.
Yeah.
It's quite, it's
bad visuals there.
there's a lot of sunscreen being used.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that. All right. The webcam is up and running, and we would invite you very much to check out the visual of this program. Kevin put up new lights and left the camera running when he left, and so subsequently you can see the studio clearly. We invite you to watch the show. There's a crystal clear audio stream and a sharp video stream, so go to WKOK.com. You can watch our video stream. On the Mark brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned dealership since 1915, 4th Street, Sunbury, and routes 1115 Hummel's Wharf. Find out more about them at sunburymotors.com, and they invite you to know that they sell Ford cars and trucks, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincolns. They're a premier service provider for all makes of cars and trucks. And no matter what vehicle you have, if it's busted, they can fix it. If not, if you have to push, pull, or tow it in, they'll be more than happy to give you a very fair price for that.
Did you get your dump truck yet?
The F-350 dump truck, no, but I was informed that that's not enough 50s. It has to be 650 to be a dump.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I had to add four more hundred to it.
4 more hundred, okay.
Yeah.
So, and my lovely bride says, no more hundreds.
No more hundreds, all right, well.
I have my Ranger, that's sufficient.
And I just love the Ford Taurus that I drive around from the Sunbury Motor Company. What a fantastic car that is, despite every effort I have made to run it into fixed objects and all of those things, animals on highways, etc. Love Sunbury Motors, love my Taurus.
When you go to meetings that are in the evening, so you're driving back.
I was
facing deer and every other thing.
and that happened about 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
Me and Bambi and Bambi's friend in the middle of the road all had a meeting.
Okay. Jeez, okay. And never
Anybody survive, Bob?
Bob.
I was the only one left standing when it was all said and done.
Okay, so poor Bambi. Well, hopefully his replacement will be born.
I admire your sympathy for Bambi, you who take a gun and go out and shoot her.
I no, Bambi's a
Bob
he.
just runs over him.
Yeah, I just
you shoot him.
First of all, Bambi's a he.
Okay.
Let's get that out of the way.
All right.
But yes, we do hope to meet up with him on December 3rd. So.
Yes.
Groninger Insurance Agency is located at Front and Duke Streets, Northumberland. They're the sponsor of our toll-free line, 1-800-795-9565. If you drive in the manner that Bob does, you'll need them, and they would invite you to enjoy Progressive Insurance, inexpensive insurance rates for folks, and that's
that
thanks
was
to
a bad thing to say.
ultra expensive. No, ultra expensive. That's what this show is going to cost us here if I don't straighten up.
It's going to cost us a client.
Groningerinsurance.com. They are the greatest insurance company in the world.
And they ask one question, do you know if your insurance is at the right price?
They do.
And if your insurance is terribly expensive, it's at the wrong price.
Right, exactly. So go to Groninger
Which I'm sure is what you were shooting for when you said that.
LenapeSolar.com is the name of the website for the sponsor of our In Basket, which is on the market at KOK.com. Lenape's at 140 South 2nd Street, Sunbury. Find them on the web at 570-286-1496, or just call them on the phone at LenapeSolar.com. Harness the power of the sun for a brighter tomorrow. They would just love to help you go solar, whether it's solar thermal, you want some heat in the house for heating in the winter, or heating your domestic hot water all year round, heating a pool, whatever it happens to be, they can help you go solar or generate electricity. Photovoltaic systems can generate electricity. Your power company not only wants it, but they're required to buy it. So if you produce in abundance, they'll take it. LenapeSolar.com is the way to get the rest of the story there. So thank you very much. You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK. We thank everybody for tuning in. Our webcam is up and running. I'm making necessary adjustments on the webcam, so hopefully everybody out there will be able to hear everything crystal clear. So even as I push buttons here, let us know how we're doing as we try to get the webcam perfected. I should have just left everything the way Kevin said it.
You should have. And he's going to be quite upset that you didn't.
I guess, first of all, I'm going to read something that's from the state headlines, and then I want to get Bob's view on this. State Attorney General is correcting her statement from earlier this week about two young men who accused Jerry Sandusky of sexual abuse that occurred in 2009. She said this week that there was abuse occurring in 2009. This was after the former Penn State coach was under investigation. Of course, it's pivotal because police lamented early on that they could have made an arrest early on, but declined to do so in hopes of building a significantly more impactful case. Attorney General Kathleen Kane's office said Wednesday that one of them was among who did testify against Sandusky during 2012, and he could not specifically recall if his abuse ended in 2008 or 2009. Another individual came forward and said he could also not place on a timeline precisely when his abuse happened, but 2009 seemed unlikely. So she's correcting herself, and that's good because the main prosecutors in this case have also always said that there was no abuse happening while this prolonged investigation, only 35 months, but no abuse was happening during that time.
Yeah, Mark, that
Clarify.
Well, the long-awaited report from Kathleen Kane occurred this Monday at a press conference down in the Capitol. And what the background and context is that Kathleen Kane ran for Attorney General, and received the highest number of votes in the history of Pennsylvania elections, even more than Barack Obama received because they ran at the same time in 2012. And her main commentary or campaign platform was an investigation into Governor Corbett when he was Attorney General, the investigation of Jerry Sandusky, which took roughly 36 months to complete. And she, in various places, literally accused the governor of placing politics over prosecution. So the first thing she did when she took office was commissioned a highly regarded former federal prosecutor, Moulton, who's from the Philadelphia area, to come in and do this investigation of the Jerry Sandusky investigation and prosecution. Her investigation of the investigation took 18 months. So Monday was a long-anticipated press conference. She came out with Prosecutor Moulton, who was made a Special Assistant Deputy Attorney General. And during the course of this, Mr. Moulton laid out the findings of his investigation, which concluded with the statement that there was absolutely no evidence or indication that politics played any role in the prosecution of Jerry Sandusky, and that reasonable minds could disagree over the course of the prosecution, whether to use a grand jury, whether to get a search warrant sooner rather than later, whether to file the charges with one victim or many victims. So that conclusion was the big takeaway. And so far, so good. He laid out the steps in a very straightforward way. And then toward the end in the question and answer period, Attorney General Kaine blurted out that, well, there were two people that came forward who were abused during the time of this investigation, which contradicted prior statements. The press became literally in an uproar. I watched the whole thing live on the Pennsylvania Cable Network, and they wanted details, and Attorney General Kaine hid behind, well, we're not allowed to release any identifying information, I'm not going to comment on it. She was pressed and pressed again and again by the media, and then all of a sudden her press spokesman stood up and said, that's it, the press conference is over, and she exited the stage.
Saying that she was going to go save millions of taxpayers' dollars or something.
Yeah, and she had other pressing needs involving the taxpayers of Pennsylvania that day. Now, think about this. This is the most important press conference of probably her career. And she had other things to do that day and couldn't take sufficient time to address the media and literally retreated from the stage. It did not look good at all. So there everyone was hanging on her words because it was never ever mentioned by Mr. Moulton in his report, in his 166-page report with 130 pages of appendages to the report. It was over 300 pages long. It was really a shocking statement and left Mr. Moulton hanging bare because he never mentioned this two victims who were supposedly abused.
Yeah, they're not in the report. We should
not at all.
This, yeah.
But her whole premise was flawed because she started out saying there was obviously politics played a part in this, and then she didn't apologize either to the governor, did she?
Not even close. She refused. And more importantly, there are some incredibly good prosecutors that were brought into this case. Frank Fina, who did the investigation, who put two speakers of the House of Representatives and lots of Democrats and Republicans in the Pennsylvania House behind bars and staff members, and Joe McGettigan, the top courtroom prosecutor in Pennsylvania, who prosecuted Sandusky in the courtroom in a 2 to 3 week war in the Center County Courthouse and was able to obtain convictions on 45 of 48 charges. These are apolitical prosecutors. Fina, who started out and cut his teeth over in Union County before going down to Harrisburg, well-respected guy. So really, and they came out pretty forcefully. Well, now Kathleen Kaine has said, well, oops, I'm sorry, but one of the two people I mentioned actually was one of the people that testified at trial. She didn't go and clarify that he was uncertain of the dates when it happened, but later it's been clarified it did not occur during the investigation. And the other person that is unnamed and did not give an approximate time on this, but the the blurting this out was an attempt, I think, to smear Corbett and, more importantly, the prosecutorial team.
Well, she's kind of walked back these two people since
Yeah,
that
she
time.
has.
I mean,
But, well, she's done it through press statements by her press people, not coming out and taking a question or making herself available to the press. She's been in the witness protection program in Harrisburg, really.
Figuratively
Yes,
speaking, she keeps a very low profile. Well, she's not a political animal herself.
Oh, she is on all. She's from Lackawanna County, for heaven's sakes.
Does no interviews, never pops up her head. She may go to functions, but doesn't
Yeah.
appear in person almost anywhere.
This is very awkward for her, this position. She was an assistant district attorney who had about 4 or 5 trials. She had paraded herself around as a child abuse prosecutor, which she kind of was, but not the depth and breadth of experience that people might think from that padding the resume, I believe. And so, the first news conference, she made some announcement on something, and then refused to take media questions, walked off the stage, and then her press spokesman said, well, if you have any questions for the Attorney General, well then, please submit them by email and we'll respond. For heaven's sakes.
What's her approval rating in your view?
I had high hopes for her. I will tell you candidly, I voted for her. I thought, boy, this could be a breath of fresh air. I think the Attorney General's office had the same old prosecutors. Maybe she would bring in a fresh set of eyes and a new team. And I guess I'm exceedingly disappointed because I was a supporter of her, crossing party lines. Knowing that her opponent, Dave Freed, who was an attorney, district attorney in Cumberland County, which is the Carlisle area across from Harrisburg, was a really decent guy. But I thought, all things considered, we needed some new blood in Harrisburg. I'm disappointed, to put it mildly.
And what is she doing in office, aside from these public appearances that might not be as polished as some individuals have done, the prosecution of case?
Well, there's a huge case out of the Philadelphia area that the Attorney General's office spent a lot of time doing, investigating bribes that were allegedly received by 4 members of the Democratic House of
Previous
Representatives.
Attorney General.
Well, it was
Kelly.
started by a previous.
Yeah, started by a previous Attorney General, and she just canned the cases. And one was also a traffic court judge down there, with really and trashing the prosecutors who brought the case, who were leading the investigation into this.
Hasn't the Philadelphia DA picked up on those cases?
Yeah, well, Seth Williams, also a Democrat, and a solid guy, a no-nonsense guy. He said, well, then send me the cases. I'll look at them. We don't know why this never... If you want to test the validity of the main witness against these representatives and judge, you put the case in front of a grand jury. Let a grand jury decide whether this guy's credible. That's what I would have done. That's what most prosecutors would have done.
Well, she said the investigation was flawed.
Well, only because it was a sweetheart deal allegedly given to the guy who was going undercover. But they have hours and hours and hours of audio tapes of this informant and the people who are the target of this that would corroborate supposedly what he has said.
Hasn't she let herself open to the same charge that maybe her failure to prosecute is politically motivated?
Yeah, and the guy that's called her on it is a fellow Democrat, the DA in Philadelphia, Seth Williams. So this whole thing on Monday, this press conference was something I had not seen in Pennsylvania in a long time, and it's very disappointing.
Well, I know other people do have a much higher regard for her professionalism and her her standing in office. And there's some folks on all of these cases that are pleased with her. She has high approval ratings among some. How about that? And there's no such thing as approval ratings for an attorney general.
Yeah.
You're either prosecuting folks or you're not. We're going to take a quick break. If you have a question about, we're going to switch switch back to the Sandusky pronouncements that were out this week about this, what she referred to as a painstakingly slow, inexcusable, tactfully errorous lack of urgency that involved the Sandusky prosecution. Give us a call, 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. That's the Groninger Insurance toll-free line. Lenape Solar email inbasket open at onthemarket up at KOK.com. And our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
You know, the thing that was the thing that really was the screw up was the darn Pennsylvania State Police.
Along the way, right.
Well, their conduct
and they're
was-
above the fray. What can you do?
Their conduct was appalling, and the commission.
Sandusky investigation?
Absolutely, they had the case first, and they did nothing. They changed.
Well, hold that thought. So you
Yeah,
don't
well,
have to say it
they will, but
twice.
they did three. They had 4 different investigators assigned. None of them did anything. Nothing.
What about your friend Ray Grykar, who
Grykar.
apparently had it first? Grykar had it first. Do you think there was anything, just off the record, I'm not going to
No,
ask this
no.
on the air, do you think that had anything to do with his disappearance?
Absolutely not. If I were Jerry Sandusky, my first witness in my defense would be Ray Grykar.
Really?
Well, yeah, because in 1998, he reviewed an allegation of the shower incident. He determined there wasn't probable cause to arrest. So who are you going to call? Mr. Grykar uses all the allegations in 1998. You read the police reports. You discussed it, right? And your decision was what? Not to charge? Now, you were right there at the time it happened.
Well, that was the only one at that point, though.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
exactly. And that was the thing.
Yeah.
But I'd still call Ray Grykar. So obviously Sandusky would have a vested interest in keeping that guy around.
Yeah, I guess he would.
And the victims of this case who may be appalled that he did this, the one victim from the shower would have been 17 or 18 in 2005 when he disappeared. Not the kind of guy that could,
Yeah.
arrange that.
Yeah.
So I think it's totally unrelated and always have.
Do you think that Sandusky is... His wife seems to believe in him, which is surprising, but I mean, do you feel...
I have a
that-
close friend, not a close friend, a friend from Danville, Jim Martin, who's a top orthopedic surgeon and an NCAA wrestling champion and the award winner of the Sports Information Director's Scholar Athlete of the Year in the NCAA. All right? He doesn't believe Sandusky did it, and he testified at trial. And Jimmy Martin from Danville was a 3-time state champion whose dad was head of pediatrics at Geisinger. And I know the Martin family. I did all their legal work. He does not believe it.
He doesn't believe
He
it.
does not believe it.
After all those witnesses paraded through there.
Yeah, I can tell you this. I can tell you the story off the air, but he went on the witness stand, and my friend Joe McGettigan, who prosecuted him, came up with the most brilliant line of cross-examination. Had to do with hair color of Jimmy Martin. And Jim was the top valedictorian of the high school class, 4.0 at Penn State in pre-med while being a national champion wrestler, etc., etc. And he's the incredible an incredibly gifted orthopedic surgeon. And he raised money for the Second Mile. He took his kids to Sandusky's house. He knew Mr. and Mrs. Sandusky from church and community activities, etc. He was on, during the trial, he was the best defense
They
lawyer.
used to say that the kids were recruited by, they actually played for Sandusky, that the football players loved the guy.
Absolutely.
So I always thought it was so out of character for him to be doing that, but he
No, it's all part of the.
he certainly let himself open to it.
It was all part of the scheme, if you will.
How many more minutes are we done?
45 seconds.
Well, okay. You look like we're about to go back on.
Yeah.
That's why.
No, I'm just looking at the computer. The audio is not perfect, so
Oh, yeah? What's wrong with it? Our audio on the air or the audio on the webcam?
the web, yeah, our audio is.
Well, those 6 people. You're going to worry about those 6 people?
I didn't say I was worried. I'm just making adjustments.
And Joes who are keen on swell service and keeping the cabbage.
Flash forward over 75 years, and Geico is still helping customers save money every day and with 97% customer satisfaction. Today, the peeps would refer to that as pretty darn tight.
Geico, saving people money for over 75 years.
The NBA draft is tonight. CBS basketball analyst Doug Gottlieb will join us today on the Steve Jones Show, 3 to 5, News Radio 1070, WKOK.
Welcome back to On the Mark. I'm Joe McGranahan, along with Mark Lawrence, who is preoccupied at the moment
With the webcam.
with the webcam.
Obsessed with this webcam. Kevin did
He is
this to me.
obsessed with it. He's not
Yes.
paying a bit of attention to anything else.
It's ruined me for radio. All I want to do is be on the webcam. Hello, everybody. Yes, we invite you to join the 7 billion people.
Your mother and your lovely bride, and who else?
Your bride's on there too.
I know
She's
she is.
zoomed in on me, so watch out for that. You're listening to On the Mark, WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. If there's one thing, well, geez, we're almost out of time in this segment, but if there's one thing that's come clear on this is state police have not been held accountable for what Kathleen Kane 100% accurately said was inexcusable delays along the way, unquote, to quote her. Your view on this painstakingly slow investigation?
Well, I think that's somewhat accurate. The Pennsylvania State Police were the initially called when the first allegation out in Clinton County at the Central Mountain High School became known, and they switched investigators 3 or 4 times, didn't advance the investigation at all, and there was about a 5 or 6 month period at the outset where they were the lead investigating agency until it was turned over to the Attorney General's office in late March of 2009. And the state police were accountable to no one in this. The Attorney General's office was not involved. And even if the Attorney General's office was involved, the state police don't report to them. And the commissioner of the state police refused to allow any of those investigators, any of the investigators in the Sandusky investigation, to even be interviewed by Mr. Moulton, the special counsel who's looking into the delays. And this does not surprise me at all, that there was inexcusable delay and that no leads or substantial leads were even developed by the state police.
Why wouldn't they want to proceed briskly with this case? They find out that there's an individual out there that's molested a child, and
Allegedly.
No, not
this is
anymore.
actual. This
Okay.
is the This is victim
After
number
post-
one.
This is post-conviction?
Yeah,
Well-
victim number 1 in 2008
Yeah.
was the abuse.
And I think that the trouble is Sandusky was an icon.
Okay. So, and if they thought it was an isolated case and he's an icon, why kill yourself? Let's get this guy, whatever's going to lead to a probation term or something
Yeah.
coming up. Okay, I could see that too. Bob Buhner Jr. is here, and we are picking apart and analyzing with a magnifying glass the Attorney General's report this week. Joe McGranahan is helping. Rob Centers, our producer. I'm Mark Lawrence. This is On the Mark. Sunbury Motor Company, Lenape Solar, Groninger Insurance, names you need to know. And this one, WKOK Sunbury.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. The government released a batch of new readings on the economy a short time ago, and they seem to be giving off mixed signals. New claims for unemployment benefits fell a little last week. Economist Nariman Berovich says that's the good news.
It's very close to a post-recession low. And so what we're seeing is further indications that the job market is on the mend.
But May consumer spending was up just 0.2% in spite of a respectable gain in personal income.
This is a little bit of a concern. It's a little sluggish. Some of it may have to do with the fact that consumers might be feeling a little squeezed by the higher gasoline prices.
A big retail chain is raising the minimum wage it pays thousands of workers. A typical worker at IKEA would get a 17% pay bump to an average wage of $10.76 an hour. A Georgia man who left his young son in a hot SUV all day is facing homicide charges. Live to CBS News correspondent Heather Bosch.
Police in Marietta, Georgia don't believe Justin Harris's story that he forgot his toddler was in the back of his car. Police say he drove to a restaurant for breakfast with the boy before parking at work. He went back to the car to put something in it around noon. When he took the boy out after 7 hours in the sweltering car, witnesses say,
and I seen the baby's body on the ground right there, and it was lifeless.
The medical examiner says the boy died from the heat. It was 88 degrees outside that day.
In Detroit, 12-year-old Charles Bothuel, missing for a week, was found in the basement of his home. His father says he was as surprised as anyone.
For anybody to imply that I somehow knew that my son was in the basement, it's absurd and it's wrong. I love my son. I'm glad that he's home and he's going to have the great future that he deserves to have.
Police say the boy was hungry, but apparently all right otherwise. The bloated Mississippi River is expected to crest in St. Paul, Minnesota later today at a record level of 20.5 feet. National Weather Weather Service hydrologist Craig Schmidt says stormy weather over the next couple of days will keep the river high for another week.
It's going to take a long time. There's so much water in the system right now. So all the rivers that are flowing into the Mississippi are all, still at flood stage.
A unity government of Shiite Sunnis and Kurds may be Iraq's only hope of breaking a Sunni insurgent uprising, but Prime Minister Maliki's latest speech indicated he's cool to the idea.
If people were waiting or hoping to hear the words unity or inclusion, it didn't come from his speech.
CBS's Charlie Daggett in Baghdad. World Cup soccer fans, lifelong or recently converted, will gravitate to the nearest TV screen a few hours from now.
It's been a successful World Cup so far for the U.S.
2-1 United States!
The call on ESPN Radio, the Americans beat Ghana, they almost beat Portugal. Today, the toughest test, Germany. U.S. coach Jurgen Klinsmann has this message for his team.
Just, give everything you have, give the extra mile.
A win or tie puts the U.S. into the next round.
CBS's Steve Futterman. S&P futures are unchanged. This is CBS News.
The Battery, modern-day fire, powering everything from remote-control cars to the car in your garage. So when your car battery is reaching the end of the line, or you're wondering whether it is, stop by Advance Auto Parts. We'll test your old one for you, free of charge. And if you purchase a new Autocraft battery, we'll install it for free. Only if you'd like us to, of course. Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back to the garage.
Most vehicles, most locations. See store for details.
Hi, this is Dennis Miller. Memory loss is about more than forgetting where you left your car keys. It's real, and it happens more and more as we age. Researchers have discovered a protein in jellyfish that can help supplement those brain support proteins we lose naturally as we age. And you'll find it in Prevagen, an over-the-counter supplement that's been clinically tested to improve memory. Support your brain with Prevagen, the best-selling memory product on the market. No prescription necessary, available at Walgreens, Rite Aid, and CVS.
The British government is offering parents some advice their children may find hard to swallow. CBS's Larry Miller has the story.
Parents who want their children to lose weight should ban fruit juice and carbonated drinks from the dining table.
Water is the drink of choice for children.
That recommendation from Susan Jebb, the British government's chief obesity advisor, but she concedes parents will have an uphill battle getting kids to dump their sugared drinks.
They see them as being sort of aspirational and cool and the thing to drink.
Jebb says the biggest source of sugar across all age groups are sugar-sweetened beverages. Larry Miller, CBS News, London.
The World Health Organization is calling for drastic action to stop the spread of Ebola in West Africa. The disease, which broke out in Guinea last February, has spread to neighboring Sierra Leone and Liberia. Officials are aware of more than 600 cases, including almost 400 deaths. Ebola has a fatality rate of as much as 90% with no known vaccine or cure. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
Mom, I can't do my math homework. I just don't get it. I'm no good at math. I hate math.
I've always considered myself a good mother, but when it came to my son Billy's math, I was at a loss. It wasn't that he didn't try, but he kept falling further behind and losing confidence. Then a friend told me about Math Made Easy DVDs. You can order any subject from arithmetic to fractions, percents, algebra, even calculus. Concepts are simplified in an entertaining way, so students enjoy learning at their own pace, in the convenience of home. It's as easy as watching TV. Best of all, it's affordable for everyone. Listen, end the frustration. Call Math Made Easy. Call now for a 30-day risk-free trial. 800-USA-MATH. With Math Made Easy, your child will always be prepared and one step ahead. Call now, 800-USA-MATH. That's 800-USA-6284. Or visit us at mathmadeeasy.com.
News Radio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Joe McGranahan.
Greetings and welcome on board the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show On the Mark. We are in the middle of a fascinating conversation about the State Attorney General's report this week. We are very much interested in the analysis. Bob Buhner Jr. is with us in the studio. Former Monterey County DA is here now. Our webcam is up and running. We invite you to check it out. It is posted at WKOK.com. Just simply click on the On the Mark link and you can watch us. What? I'm sorry?
No, I'm just looking at the number of people who are.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a low number to start out always, but that's okay. We'll get that up above 7 million shortly.
All right.
Lenape Solar.
Being stuck at 6 million is such a disappointment.
Lenape Solar email in basket is open. You simply email on the mark at WKOK.com. We'll read your email on the radio in many cases. Lenape Solar is located at 140 South 2nd Street, Sunbury. 17801 is the zip there if you want to send them a letter, but the best thing to do is just go visit them. Call them on the phone at 286-1496 or hit the website at lenapesolar.com. Groninger Insurance Agency sponsors the toll-free line. We invite your questions on this. If you have a question about the case that was detailed today, outlining no politics found in the investigation of Jerry Sandusky, you can call us and comment on it. 1-800-795-9565. Groninger Insurance Agency sponsors that. They're located at Front and Duke Streets in Northumberland. As Joe aptly pointed out ahead of schedule, they do have just one question, and that is, do you know if your insurance is at the right price? Let them give you a second opinion on your insurance, and you'll find out shortly that GroningerInsurance.com is the website to go to save a buck. And SunburyMotors.com is the website of our main sponsor On the Mark, brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company. They specialize in all types of service at the Quick Lane, state inspections, nitrogen for tires. They can even fix your vehicle if you have a convertible and the top won't go up or down. Does that ever happen to you, sir?
My Mustang convertible, yeah, absolutely.
It works okay? Good.
Well, it was only after I rolled it over and did a 360.
Oh, jeez.
that the roof didn't work.
I don't think it's a 360 when it's a barrel. I think that's called yaw to extreme, I think.
I went completely over, did the
yawed.
360 in my Mustang convertible up in Route 220 one day.
Oh, geez, okay. Monday through Friday, 7 to 7 is where you can get the convertibles fixed, and 7 to 3 on Saturdays, closed on Sunday at Sunbury Motor Company, although they'll tow you if they do have 24/7, 365 towing. We're talking about the analysis from Kathleen Kane this week, the State Attorney General. We're going to continue that in a moment. I'm going to scan some quick news headlines. Still no positive identification of 54-year-old Michael Kenny of Northumberland, suspected to be the individual whose body was found in a reservoir in the Weiser State Forest yesterday. Autopsy underway right now. A $29 billion Republican-penned budget is out of the House and on its way to the Senate. An uncertain future there along party lines. It passed Wednesday. It would increase spending by $727 million. The current year's approved budget, it would be 2.6% more than this year's budget. Another $200 million would go to on-the-books off-budget programs, and other education would be increasing. Democrats say it's inadequate, though, for public schools. And they might try it in Pennsylvania. Planned Parenthood says they've been asked by the State Department of Health to start providing information about physicians admitting privileges at hospitals. Planned Parenthood spokeswoman Megan Roach said Wednesday that its 3 Pennsylvania affiliates have been asked by the Department of Health for information about the visiting privileges of their physicians at local hospitals. A health department spokesman says it didn't intend to ask about it, but an employee proactively did so without receiving a directive. It's a hot topic as new requirements in other states have resulted in abortion clinics shutting down and high-profile court battles. Admitting privilege laws have passed in 10 states, although judges have put laws on hold in 5 states while they decide legal challenges. Supporters say it's a way to protect women. Critics say, of course, it's a way to stop abortions from happening. Republicans in Pennsylvania have said they are very much interested in having a visiting hospital law that relates to abortion clinics. So Pennsylvania going to be next on that terrible list. We have 1-800-795-9566.
Another editorial comment.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, no overreach there. Don't worry about that.
Just throw your little zingers in.
This is an opinion show. They're not really zingers. If it's an opinion show, they're really just words.
However, you're reading a newscast. Newscasts are not supposed to be editorials. They're supposed to be news.
Well, they are the rest of the day.
Okay.
1-800-795-9565. Bob Buhner Jr. here for another half hour or so. We're very glad that he's carved out some time to help us in this deep analysis. Rick has called in. Good morning, Rick. You are on the mark.
Thank you. I'd like to make a statement, and then I'd like to ask a question.
The statement was, last week I was at a conference in Philadelphia for a couple of days, and one of the speakers was Attorney General Kaine, and I don't think I've ever attended a more self-promoting speech. It was on child abuse, but the whole speech was about what she did.
Have you ever heard Ed Rendell speak? He's the most self-promoter of all of history.
He was a speaker there, too.
Oh, okay,
But-
yeah, he was the most, but he's not in office anymore. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupt.
But I'm just saying, I've never seen a more self-promoting speech than what she gave the 10 minutes or 12 minutes that she was speaking. The second thing is the question I would have, and I've asked numerous people about this investigation on Sandusky, and I do believe that he's as guilty as sin. But one of the questions that was asked by different people and never seemed to have an answer is how the man was able to stay or get back on campus. And the answer was that he was allowed to come back because he was a Professor Emeritus and he had the right and this and that. But nobody ever gave the answer who signed the contract or how that was ever done. And I found out by just asking some questions, some people know that the provost is the one that allowed him, or signed the contract that permitted him to stay on campus. The provost at that time was Rodney Erickson. Nobody would question this or anything like that, and to me, it maybe raises a question why Rodney Erickson was so quick to settle with the NCAA without having anybody else involved in the situation. Just what's your thought on that?
Okay.
You're exactly right that it was Dr. Erickson who negotiated the terms of the emeritus status. Let's back up one degree on this. Jerry Sandusky was a football coach at Penn State. We all know that. Most people don't know that Jerry Sandusky was also a professor at Penn State in the physical education department. And as a professor, he retired from Penn State. And whether you're in the meteorology department, the science area, or physical education, as a professor, when you do retire, if you have certain requirements, longevity, etc., you are eligible for emeritus status. And there are professors at Penn State who have retired who still retain certain privileges at the university, like having an office, having access to facilities, etc. And that is negotiated not with the phys ed department or not with the Department of Intercollegiate Athletics where the coaches are, but with the provost, who is the head of the academic area of Penn State. And you're right, it was Rodney Erickson. He apparently negotiated this status with Sandusky at the time of retirement, which was around 1999, without any input or involvement from Joe Paterno or anyone over in the athletic director and anyone in intercollegiate athletics. That's how he was able to stay on campus.
He may have just codified that agreement. This is not to say that he had generated or urged it or necessarily even approved of it, but he formalized it.
He would have had to, the provost would have had to approve that agreement.
Who would have recommended? Who would have recommended that he be given that status?
I would think that
are there a set criteria?
There are criteria for it. It's one of them is what rank are you in the faculty? And I think he was a professor, meaning there's an assistant professor, there's an associate professor in academic circles, and
he was a full professor.
I believe he was a full professor, and also longevity.
Did he have a PhD?
Didn't need to in phys ed.
Okay, go ahead, Rick.
Okay, now the other thing is, I strongly feel that some of the culpability has to be with Dr. Erickson. And I believe that maybe one of the reasons why he settled so quick and wanted to settle without conferring with any of the other board members has something to do with him not wanting his name out about this or whatever. But and that's my opinion, but I strongly feel about that. And the innuendos all during the investigation reverted back to the athletic department, although they didn't say it, that he got permission to stay through the athletic department, which is totally incorrect. And that nowhere along any of the reading that I did anywhere had ever come out that Dr. Erickson was the one that approved Mr. Sandusky to be able to be have the unfettered and access to the campus at any hour of the day or night.
I don't know that Rick, I don't know that he had that kind of unfettered access. My understanding is that the area that he had access to was over toward Rec Hall, in what's called the east area of the campus. And I'm not sure exactly. There's a building on the east side of the campus, which is the Beaver Stadium side of the campus, where I think some phys ed offices are used or located. So in academic circles, it is the provost who reports. He's the chief academic officer who reports directly to the president, who is responsible for determining, for example, promotions of faculty members, granting of sabbatical leaves, and emeritus status.
All right. Could Graham Spanier and or Joe Paterno have recommended this emeritus status or weighed in on it?
Absolutely, they could have, but it doesn't work that way, especially with Spanier. The flow would come from the provost, Erickson, up to Spanier. Spanier may or may not have any questions, and usually just approves what the provost does.
Right. Wasn't his emeritus status granted after the original allegations that weren't pursued?
Yes.
So they were known. I mean, they had some reason to be concerned?
Not really. Those what you're referring to, Joe, is an incident that occurred in 1998 in the showers with a young boy, which the district attorney of Center County determined, that's Ray Greekar, the man who's now missing, determined did not rise to the level of criminal conduct. There was a sting operation by the State College police to try and inculpate Sandusky. That did not work. And the incident, although it was reported to the Children and Youth Services, they referred it to the Department of Public Welfare in Harrisburg, who sent an investigator up to State College because children and youth in Center County were so tied up with the second mile headed by Sandusky, they thought it was a conflict. And the report of alleged child abuse was, and this is an important word or phrase, not indicated as being child abuse. That's a phrase that's in the Child Welfare Protection Acts. And so when it was not indicated, after 18 months, that file and report was extracted from the records. And one of the recommendations of Mr. Moulton in the Kane report was that even an unfounded allegation of child abuse should not be expunged from the records. It should be around just in case that name comes up again. Because it is, by law, expunged within, I think, 18 months.
So within 18 months, the people at Penn State were aware that these accusations had been made or these concerns had been raised, and they were aware of the fact that their own police department had attempted to look into it. Still, they gave him emeritus status.
But because the investigation was unfounded and no charges were brought, it was, it was simply an accusation without, at that time, following an investigation, one without, I would think they would have said maybe without any merit or without any substance to it. We later find out, of course, that that's not the case. But in 1998, it was something that was expunged. We don't know who all knew at Penn State. That's why Mr. Spanier and Mr. Curley and Mr. Schultz are on trial pending trial right now, going back to that 1998 incident.
Well, to me, emeritus implies an exemplary career with no stain, no question about your integrity, your credentials. Here there was at least a question.
A taint.
A taint.
Yeah.
Taint no laughing matter either.
But we can always, but with the benefit of hindsight, you can say that. But when you think about it, in 1999, someone made an allegation, and it was investigated by the chief. Yeah, and it was unfounded. So you can't put any weight on that. I was reported a couple years ago to the disciplinary board of Pennsylvania that regulates the conduct of lawyers by someone that I put in jail for a long, long time. The thing was totally bogus, unfounded. It was almost laughable, except that it's a serious matter. The disciplinary board of Pennsylvania never even had it go to the level of a formal complaint. They dismissed it for a lot of good reasons, for all good reasons, I should say. But if, would that taint me and because of some guy that's serving 20 years?
We got to take a quick break. We're going to continue our conversation when we come back, or we're going to ask more about the Penn State role here. What does the Attorney General's role say about Penn State and Penn State in 1998, Penn State in 2008 through 2012, and Penn State today? We're going to ask about that when we come back. 1-800-795-9565. Questions for Bob Unier Jr. as we talk about Attorney General Kane's report that came out this week. 1-800-795-9565.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
These past few years have been tough on all of us. You may have even given up on your dream of owning your own home. But don't give up just yet. We're PHFA. We help people realize their dreams of owning their own home with features like competitive interest rates, down payment and closing cost assistance, and even free home ownership counseling. PHFA can make your dream of home ownership finally come true.
Learn more at phfa.org or call 1-800-822-1174.
I'm Brian Hudson, and we're PHFA. Welcome home.
Go Hunt PA to enjoy the outdoors, to be with family and friends, or to put food on the table. Whatever the reason, the Pennsylvania Game Commission invites you to Go Hunt PA. Log on to pgc.state.pa.us to find information on wildlife, hunting, licensing, and much more. While you're there, subscribe to their email service to get all the latest news, like reminding hunters that 2014-2015 Pennsylvania hunting licenses are on sale now. Check the Game Commission's website for details. Go Hunt PA. Visit pgc.state.pa.us.
Be sure not to fizzle when the summer starts to sizzle. Kohl's Hardware has red-hot savings on what keeps you cool, all in one convenience store.
Beat the heat with a West Point air conditioner from your neighborhood Kohl's Hardware. Kohl's has a large selection of window and portable air conditioning units ready to cool down your summer. An air conditioner from Kohl's will save the day and get you a cool night's sleep.
Going for a dip in the pool? Kohl's Hardware makes cooling off easy and convenient with a large variety of quality HTH and Qualco's swimming pool products. Kohl's Hardware has the brands you know and the people you trust.
And now at Kohl's Hardware, save up to $20 on Knoebels all-day ride passes. The more you buy, the more you save when you shop at Kohl's Hardware this summer. See store for details.
Check out the sale prices in our new circular at KohlsHardware.com and sign up for exclusive online offers year-round. We're right around the corner, right here in your hometown. Come on home to Kohl's for sizzling summer fun.
Come on home to Kohl's. Come on home to Kohl's. Kohl's Hardware. Come on home to Kohl's.
Shade Mountain Winery kicks summer into high gear with another open deck night this Friday. The winery on Route 104 between Middleburg and Penns Creek will play host to Johanna Kodlik and Anthony of Runaway Stroller from 5:30 till 7:30. Grab some goodies, some buddies, and the winery will have the vintages chilling and ready to buy. There's no better way to bring in the weekend than spending your Friday night on the deck at Shade Mountain Winery, Route 104 between Middleburg and Penns Creek, where they say life is short, drink wine. Also in Millheim and Riverside and at ShadeMountainWinery.com.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK. Bob Unier Jr. with us as we talk about the Attorney General Kathleen Kane report that came out this past week. Joe McGranahan is with me, and Rob Center, our producer. Call us 1-800-795-9565. We had some great questions so far. Ultra-informed people. Glad of that. 1-800-795-9565. You're welcome to email us at onthemark@WKOK.com. I asked you for the approval rating of the state police. not too good. Attorney General, not too good. How about Penn State? Fairly cooperative throughout this? Provided some emails, not others?
Well, a couple of things about that, Mark. One is Cynthia Baldwin, who was the head lawyer for Penn State, like in-house counsel. She had been the former chairman of the Board of Trustees at Penn State. She had actually been appointed by Ed Rendell to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court after serving as an Allegheny County judge. She was involved in gathering all the information in response to the grand jury subpoenas that went to Penn State. There was no formal Sandusky file other than a file you would see in the personnel or the human resources office at Penn State. That file was sent to the grand jury by Penn State. It had nothing in it of any substance related to anything like investigations of previous incidents, questions about his interest and hobbies, showering with young boys, etc. The file that had that information in was in a filing cabinet in Vice President Schultz's office, and was only turned over much later by a secretary after Mr. Schultz was arrested. And that had some documents, and that's, of course, going to be the subject of a trial that's going to be scheduled somewhere down the road. So, and it was one of those files that wouldn't show up on any database, but it had some cryptic notes by Mr. Schultz about Sandusky, about the shower incident, and other things like that. Also, I think notes about the incident in 2001 where Mike McQuarrie is reported to have seen Sandusky in the Penn State football practice facilities at night with a young boy. That really is one of the more outrageous allegations against Sandusky, and was discussed in graphic terms, I think, during the trial. So those files were not in any database that you could push a button and collect emails about directly. So, and also, I believe Penn State tried to fight some of the subpoenas, try to quash them is the legal phrase. So whether they had valid reasons to do that or not, they were not as forthcoming. One reason was because simply even a reasonable person trying to find couldn't find this little file that was kept privately out of the purview of Penn State's. And a limited number of people would have even known about it. Like 3 or 4 at the most, and one was under charges. You know, I think the several points that in the investigation where prosecutors could disagree about. The first is they had enough information on one victim in 2010 where the line prosecutor, Janelle Eschball, even drafted charges. But the team above her, experienced prosecutors all, said that to put a 12, 14-year-old boy in the courtroom against the Jerry Sandusky, the icon of Penn State, would most likely result in a not guilty verdict, that they believed that there were more victims out there, they just had to find them. I tried a case in Montour County against my nemesis. His name is Derek Martz. I had one victim, and I lost. I came up the next time against Mr. Martz. I had 3 victims, and I won. Mr. Martz is doing 8 years in state prison. It's exceedingly difficult to prosecute with a young child against an adult. And
well, back to Penn State.
Yeah.
What does this say about the university? Perhaps appropriate requests for quashing of subpoenas, positive responses to many. They have submitted more emails than the state police were able to, and more than the attorney general's general's office was able to. I mean, skip this forensic search for other emails, but Penn State fairly cooperative through this process, or not?
I don't think they were as forthcoming, which is why they've been charged. The 3, the president, the vice president, and the athletic director. I think, to use a hackneyed phrase, time will tell when that case, if it gets to trial, we'll find out all of that. And so I don't know. I really, at this point, don't know.
And what, if anything?
Out of curiosity, from your experience as a prosecutor, when someone throws up things like that, trying to quash the subpoenas, are they usually doing it because they believe there's a solid legal precedent they want to defend, or are they trying to hinder the investigation?
I think, for example, lots of times there'll be information that we call privileged. For example, involves attorney-client privilege, where there's a file exists or email exists where somebody, an employee, sends an email to a lawyer and for, say, Penn State and says, "What about this? What about that?" Well, that's privileged information, and even though you get a subpoena for it, under our laws, those privileged emails or files should not be turned over. And a judge should have to make that determination.
I was going to say, you attorneys know what's privileged and what isn't.
Yeah.
Why bring it if you know it's privileged?
Well, when you're on a fishing expedition, and there's nothing wrong with that in a grand jury, that's what you're trying to do. You cast the widest net possible, and then if there's a disagreement, there is a process. It's called a motion to quash the subpoena. That goes in front of an unbiased judge who's going to listen to both sides and make a ruling according to law. I wouldn't view it as being completely uncooperative to file a motion like that, in the same way that if a person was arrested, say, for drugs on the street, and their lawyer filed a motion to suppress the evidence because it was based on an illegal search, you couldn't say that the defense lawyer is being cooperative with the prosecution if he is protecting the rights of his client for, like, privileged information.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. The Westminster College Criminal Justice class is underway. Bob Buhner Jr., the good professor, is with us, adjunct faculty. He is, and we're glad that he's talking to us. We'll take a quick break, and we'll return with more in a moment.
This is John.
And John from Biters Home Center.
What are you wearing?
Red shirt with white stripes, blue shorts with stars, black socks, brown sandals, white fedora.
And your wife left you leave the house?
I snuck out the back. All in the spirit of independence.
I wish I could unsee that outfit.
Why, see Biters Independence Day sale with 0% interest financing for 1 year and huge savings on appliances, furniture, electronics, and bedding.
Like a compact microwave, just $44.44.
Or a Dyson multi-floor upright vacuum with free pet tool for $299.
And a Frigidaire washer is $329 now at all Biters Home Centers.
A Frigidaire frost-free 14.6 cubic foot refrigerator is $398.
And a Frigidaire stainless steel refrigerator, range, dishwasher, and over-the-range microwave package is only $19.44 after rebates.
We'll be closed July 4th, but prices are guaranteed through July 6th.
And we deliver, too.
So check out our Independence Day sale flyer at Biters.com or head to one of Biters' 6 convenient locations. This is John.
And John saying hurry to Biters Home Center today.
See store for complete financing details.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Wherever you are right now, right this moment, you've never been closer to saving a child. Every minute, malaria claims another life. But donating just $1 provides a life-saving test and treatment for one child in Africa. $1 given, one child saved. We have the tools to ensure no child dies from a mosquito bite. $1 at a time, one child at a time. That's the power of one. Save a life now by donating $1 at peel1.org.
By 2025, it's estimated that half the world's population will lack access to safe drinking water. A sorry state of affairs as 2/3 of our planet is covered by water. We are helping develop solutions for salt water to satisfy the thirst of future generations. BASF, the chemical company.
Hi,
Hi, this is Susan Foltz at Focus Health, a non-medical in-home service. Frustrated trying to find a job to match your kid's busy schedule? We can help. Join us at Focus Health to become part of the fastest growing occupation today, a direct care worker. Focus Health offers flexible hours built around your schedule with free training, CPR, and first aid certification. Accepting applications now. Call Focus Health today at 570-259-9732 to schedule your interview. We're an equal opportunity employer.
The NBA draft is tonight. CBS basketball analyst Doug Gottlieb will join us today on the Steve Jones Show, 3 to 5, News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Nice upbeat dance music as we get back into our molestation discussion here. So we're glad that folks
music
are
for
tuning in.
molestation.
Oh, please. Webcam is up and running. If you'd like to see our studio in progress, Bob Buhner Jr. is with us. Producer is Rob Center. Thank you, sir. Sponsors, Sunbury Motor Company, Lenape Solar, Groninger Insurance.
You forgot me.
I'm Mark Lawrence. Joe McGranahan is with me as well. And topic at hand, Attorney General Kane's report.
We're going to move beyond that now, right?
Right. We're going to talk about
let me just go one thing.
One more sentence.
The biggest question mark was whether the investigators, whether it's the state police or the investigators from the Attorney General's office, should have executed a search warrant on Sandusky's house, which when they finally did in 2011, I believe, they did receive a lot of incredibly useful information that helped them identify victims. Should they have done that in 2008 and 2009? Apparently,
in hindsight, yes.
In hindsight, absolutely. But they felt that they needed to build a case. They did not think the people that were looking at this from, we got to go take this document called a search warrant with an affidavit to a judge. They didn't feel they had sufficient probable cause that a judge would sign it. And they were also fearful of tipping off Sandusky at a point in time in the investigation when there was only one victim. So that was a calculated decision that ultimately bore fruit. And remember, one important fact out of this whole Sandusky case is that in the final analysis, Jerry Sandusky was tried and convicted in a court of law by the Attorney General's office, a great team of trial prosecutors and a top-notch group of investigators brought in at the tail end. And he's doing 30 to 60 years in state prison out in western Pennsylvania. He'll never get out alive. In the final analysis, this was a highly successful prosecution. Did it take too long? Some say yes. Did it involve politics? We think we have the answer from the toughest critic of Corbett on this when he was Attorney General. The answer is there's no evidence to show there was one iota of political influence in the prosecution.
Yeah, but all she said is there's no evidence of it. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I mean, they could have been handing notes back and forth or conversations or text messages.
Not the way it works in reality. The email trail.
Tom Corbett can't come in your office and say, Bob, stand down?
No, but if a non-political person, the line prosecutors, the investigators, if they sensed there was some political influence, it would be in a report somewhere. It would be made in an interview that was conducted. There's no information to basically support that at all.
Somebody would talk.
And it is basically, damning somebody with faint praise. Yes, there's no evidence. It kind of leaves that cloud. Well, maybe there's something out there. Okay, what is it? They couldn't find it. They looked. The Attorney General's office and a special prosecutor brought in because of his experience went for 18 months and found nothing. They turned over every stone that they did. They followed every lead.
Text messages?
They went through all those kinds of things that they had. Those things like emails, electronic communications were all analyzed. They even went back and found a guy that worked in the Attorney General's office that was able to retrieve emails that they thought, a la the IRS scandal in D.C., had gone missing. So they even were able to retrieve data they thought was not there. They did an extraordinary effort of lifting up every rock that was out there and seeing what was underneath it, and found nothing.
I don't agree. I think there's still. I think he still played politics, still delayed it deliberately, just did so verbally, so there'd be no trace.
I don't believe that at all.
Okay.
And I'm not. Listen, and I'm on the Corbett enemies list. I've
Not
been on
me.
it for a long time, since 2006. He does not like me. I do not like him. And if I thought for 1 minute that politics played a role in this, I would be putting billboards up and down the central Susquehanna Valley to that effect. And I do not like the man as Attorney General. I do not like him as governor. Don't like him as a person. And I believe that there was no politics in it. And I say that as somebody who went and was interviewed by Mr. Moulton as part of his investigation.
All right,
Now,
thank
does
you
that
so much.
satisfy you?
Honestly, I think he instructed individuals verbally to stand down, to go slow, to proceed slowly, so he wouldn't be the state attorney general running for governor who brought down Penn State and Sandusky and connected it to Joe Paterno and other people. Honestly, I think Kathleen Kane was very careful not to say that what my theory is untrue during her news conference, and I think that's her theory too. I mean, I didn't make it up. I didn't invent this theory.
Well,
this is her initiation.
But as one commentator said, what I thought was pretty funny, we all know what Catherine Kane had for breakfast on Monday morning because there's egg on her face. And I think that's true.
There appears to be some on yours as well. So,
she went around during the campaign, and she said words like probably politics involved. She didn't raise the question, is there politics? And if you elect me, I'll get to it. She said there's probably politics involved. And she went out with an agenda and a mission and couldn't find it. She was driven to do this. And I don't blame her. I think that she did the right thing by having the investigation. I applaud her for doing it, but she found out through a guy that has credentials as an investigator that are unassailable.
All right, well, my theory is based on the precise characteristics that you dislike in Tom Corbett, and I think that he used his opportunity to verbally slow down the operation, if only through not providing sufficient funding or sufficient manpower. Remember, you have a limited amount of time to investigate and limited resources.
In 2011, the Attorney General's investigators and the state police investigators were going full tilt, non-stop after Sandusky. It was the amount of resources devoted in 2011.
Right, but that's after the campaign.
But that's when they got the big breaks and the leads, and they went just.
Isn't that something? Corbett gets elected and all this stuff happens. Oh, that's amazing.
I'm not sure.
Tony, you're on the
being very unfair here today.
I'm not being unfair. I think the fact that you guys accept on face value what's being given to you is, I think there's a wiser choice.
You can blame me for that, but Bob certainly hasn't accepted anything at face value.
No, not at all.
All right, Tony, you're on the mark.
Yeah, good morning. I mean, if Corbett gave any verbal orders, that can never be proven or disproven. But I do not think an investigator would sit on a case. Unless he had something in writing somewhere. Hey, why would an investigator put himself in jeopardy?
Okay, well,
Tony, I agree with that completely. I know the guy named Randy Feathers, who is one of the lead investigators. He's from the State College office of the Attorney General's office. I've worked with Randy. He's non-political. He has served in the Attorney General's office for a long time. He was a big veteran of drug investigations all over the central Susquehanna Valley. And this guy is very apolitical, and I think your point is well taken. If a guy like Randy Feathers is going to put his name on the line to go after Sandusky, he's not going to allow political interference from anybody to deter him because it's his reputation on the line. And so I agree with you. Maybe the top guys in the headquarters of the Attorney General down in Harrisburg can wink and nod at each other in the office, but when it gets down to the guys in the field that are doing the real grunt work of the investigation, they're not going to have their reputation ruined by some politician in Harrisburg.
No, they're not, and they're not going to submit an investigative report if it wasn't done in a timely, efficient manner.
All right, we got you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. In what way can politics creep into investigation? How does politics affect an investigation when it is happening?
Well, that's hard to say. It's kind of on a case-by-case basis. I would say this about the Sandusky investigation. The big concern that everybody had very clearly was that Jerry Sandusky at Penn State was a huge, iconic figure in the State College community. And it goes back to Machiavelli in Italy, where it was once said, if you're going to take down the king, take him down and kill him. Don't wound him. And to take down Sandusky, they had to have sufficient evidence to go in and get him big time. I think all of the investigators, all of the prosecutors felt, based on the information, the interviews that they conducted, that this guy was in fact a dangerous man, but they wanted to make sure they nailed him in the court of law, and guess what? 45 counts guilty.
It begs the question about Coach Paterno, because in the famous story I heard quoted, he told Sandusky he was not going to be
head coach.
Why?
Because he gave Sandusky a choice. He said, you can either be a coach at Penn State, which requires your full attention, or you can run the second mile program. You need to make that choice. But it became clear to Paterno that Jerry Sandusky was spending so much time in second mile, it was detracting from his job as coach. And if anybody knows Joe Paterno, he was a man on a mission with the football program. That's what he did. He didn't have any hobbies. He didn't collect stamps or coins. He didn't go hunting with Mark Lawrence. He did nothing outside of football. And everyone expected Sandusky to be the heir apparent. And when Paterno saw that there was not that same dedication, he gave him the choice.
And this is what, 95, 96,
97, 98.
Okay.
And Sandusky decided, and now we know why, to go with the second mile.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to talk about cell phone and the U.S. Supreme Court ruling with...
We keep saying that, but we're down to 10 minutes and we haven't talked about it.
We'll get it there.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, got to go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
I like my breakfast like I like my rock. Soft. So I eat Belvita Soft Baked Breakfast Biscuits, a tasty breakfast option for nutritious morning energy. It's just what I want before writing a flute solo that will softly rock every dentist's office around. Try Belvita Soft Baked in oats and chocolate, cinnamon, mixed berry, and banana bread. Belvita, mourn and win.
Just when you thought summer couldn't get any better, the Home Depot has 15% off in-store patio furniture. So let's show the back patio a little love for a lot less. Give it the attention it deserves and your friends the invitation they've been looking for. The party's on at your place. Let's do this. 15% off in-store patio furniture. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. While supplies last, U.S. only, products and prices may vary by store. Discount taken at register.
This is Tanya Diddy. If you've been wondering how you can save money and the environment for the future, then all you have to do is look to the sun. Let Lenape Solar enlighten you. Lenape Solar installs residential and commercial solar systems, each custom designed to meet your individual needs. And we're committed to buy American products. Making an investment in a solar system today is much more affordable than it was 2 to 3 years ago. And the payback is much quicker. You can trust the experts at Lenape Solar to help enlighten you to a brighter tomorrow, because we're committed to you and to our community. Call us at 286-1496 and start saving today.
Here's something to think about. How do you know if your insurance is the right price?
Have you ever had your insurance reviewed? Do you remember when it was reviewed? And are you getting all the discounts you deserve? Let Groninger Insurance Agency give you a free, no-obligation second opinion on your auto, home, or business insurance. Give the Groninger Insurance Agency a call today at 570-473-8107. They're proud to represent the Erie Insurance Group. It's true, if you're not insured by Groninger Insurance, you're probably paying too much.
Shade Mountain Winery kicks summer into high gear with another open deck night this Friday. The winery on Route 104 between Middleburg and Penns Creek will play host to Johanna Kodlik and Anthony of Runaway Stroller from 5:30 till 7:30. Grab some goodies, some buddies, and the winery will have the vintages chilling and ready to buy. There's no better way to bring in the weekend than spending your Friday night on the deck at Shade Mountain Winery, Route 104 between Middleburg and Penns Creek, where they say life is short, drink wine. Also in Millheim and Riverside and at ShadeMountainWinery.com.
Well, we solved all known diseases and fed the poor and have prosecuted a dozen drug cases. If folks have been watching on the webcam while the discord continued here, the discussion, not discord.
Yeah.
No discord, continued off mic. But we are back on mic with Bob Buhner Jr. U.S. Supreme Court yesterday said that police cannot just search a telephone that they've taken from a suspect. What did I say?
You said telephone.
Telephone, yeah, specifically a cell phone, especially a smartphone, which has all kinds of data on it.
Yeah, Mark, this is an interesting case because the decision was a unanimous decision by the the United States Supreme Court that said that if you're going to seize a cell phone and if you're going to mine the data from that, you absolutely are required to have a search warrant. Now, the search warrant clause is in the Constitution. It's called protection of unreasonable search and seizure. There's a major exception to that, and it's called a search that is incident to a lawful arrest, so that when the police arrest someone, they don't need a search warrant to go out to find things on that person, such as weapons that could be used to hurt police officers or members of the public in the area. So for officer protection and public protection, there's no need for a search warrant. Now, what was going on is police officers were finding cell phones as part of searching the person when they were arrested. They were then looking at the cell phone, seeing the data there, and connecting them, in both instances that were in front of the Supreme Court, to other crimes, using that data from the cell phone as a basis for evidence in the courtroom for convictions. The defense lawyers in both these cases, one from Massachusetts or New England and one from California, said that information should have been suppressed. And yesterday, the Supreme Court announced a decision that said, if you have a cell phone, you can search the outside of the cell phone. Maybe there's a razor blade or something else that could be used against an officer. But you can't then go in and get the data. If you want to protect the data in there so that it's not remotely wiped out, well, then simply turn the cell phone off, put it in a aluminum bag or something to prevent the rays from coming in and knocking it out from remote control. But you need a warrant. And what Justice Roberts, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, said, going back to the Revolutionary era, that the British used to come into colonial homes with a general warrant, which was, we're just coming in and searching. And that and then moving it to the modern era, cell phones are a treasure trove of people's personal information. And he used the example, you can get an application now that is from the Republican Party or the Democratic Party that you could download to get the news. So you could identify somebody's political leanings. And that kind of speech is highly protected by our Constitution. So this has far-reaching ramifications.
All righty. Cindy, thanks for calling in. You're on the mark.
Is it okay if I ask a question about the earlier subject?
Absolutely.
Thank you. It's my understanding, based on the testimony that was given in court, that Mr. McCreary he went home and told two medical professionals what he saw, and that he believed that he had observed a child being assaulted.
That is true.
And under Pennsylvania law, I'm a health care provider. We are mandated reporters. We've been mandated reporters for as long as I know. And yet, based on other things that were said, neither of the people made a report. Why weren't they held accountable for that?
That is an excellent question. And what you're talking about, Cindy, is Mike McQueary on a Friday night went home apparently disturbed by what he saw at the football offices and shower room area, talked to his father, who is an administrator of a medical practice, and also talked to a doctor who he related the story to, and they advised Mike McQueary to go see Coach Paterno. And from Friday night to Saturday, Mike McQueary calls Coach Paterno at his house and then makes a visit and tells Coach Paterno what he saw. There's a lot of interpretation of what was actually said and what words were used and what was reported.
Thanks to Mike McQuarrie's various versions.
Yes,
of it,
and Mike McQuarrie had numerous versions. It's interesting because this physician from the Friday night discussion and also Mike McQuarrie's dad were both brought in front of the grand jury and testified. I do not know that we have that, what they actually told the grand jury. I'm not certain about that. I don't want to be incorrect. I don't know, Cindy, if they were given immunity. I know they testified at the Sandusky trial.
Right.
And it is...
They acknowledged getting that information.
But
I would assume, maybe I'm mistaken.
No, go ahead.
If I received such direct information as a registered nurse here in Pennsylvania, given the criticism that's been levied on all these other people involved in the case,
right,
that society, even if not legally, I would be expected to call Child Find, which you do anonymously.
Right.
And make a report.
No,
but they said in court, no one called.
That is
then
true.
Means neither did those two gentlemen. And I don't understand why then the practice boards, there are legal consequences to a healthcare professional for failing to report child abuse.
Well, the question is, in what capacity were they functioning that Friday night when Mike McQuarrie went home and talked to both of them? And were they just as a father, or did it come about because of a medical reason?
But they didn't see anything.
And they didn't.
They were just told something by some third party.
But Joe, I think what Cindy is saying and what others have said is that when you get the information, even though you didn't corroborate it, even though you didn't verify it, if it did come to you, then you call Childline, you make the report. And it's not your job to validate it.
That's right. In the emergency room, I didn't conduct an investigation. If I had reason to believe, or I was directly told, then I simply filled out the form and made the call. It wasn't, I'm not the police. I'm just the reporter.
But the question is...
Given all of that, why would we have socially crucified a man who 2 days later got the very same report?
Well, that's right.
So, when what
question.
happened to Mr. Paterno happened, I thought, good golly, I never as a nurse followed up on any case I reported. It was not my understanding that I was responsible for doing that. But apparently in society, I should have done that.
Well, but if somebody came to your house as a neighbor and just said, oh, by the way, I had some information that so-and-so was charging somebody.
Thank you, Cindy.
There you go. Sorry. We're out of time, I guess, Mark.
To be continued. Well, under certain circumstances, you're about to say that you would have knowledge that apparently no follow-up has happened.
Yes, that's true.
All right. Thank you so much, Bob.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, Bob.
You're welcome, Joe. You're
Very
welcome,
much
good friend
appreciated.
Mark.
You might as well just hang out here because you're coming back this afternoon, I hope.
About 3 o'clock.
All right, we'll talk to you then. Bob Buhner Jr., former Monterey County DA. Joe McGranahan, thank you so much for being here today. Co-host and Rob Center. I'm Mark Lawrence. Thanks you for listening to WKOK Sunbury.
NBC News Radio I'm Dirk Van. Soccer dreams in Brazil, where America's World Cup hopes are riding on today's game against heavily favored Germany. NBC's Natalie Morales says the fans are out in force.
The American team is going into battle with a lot of backup. American fans have bought the most game tickets here of any foreign fans.
Analysts say win or lose, U.S. soccer has come a long way. We're spending more. Stats this morning show consumer spending up 0.2 of a point. CNBC's Sarah Eisen says personal income up as well.
In May, personal incomes were up 0.4%. That was exactly what economists were looking for. Look, it's not the kind of wage gains that we need to see to get people spending a lot, but they're positive.
GoPro is going public. The high-tech camera maker starting trading today at $24 a share. Overall, stocks are lower in early trading. And Barnes & Noble is closing the book on the Nook, spinning off its digital reader business. Blame it on tough competition from Amazon. This is NBC News Radio. Whole Foods overcharging. The upscale supermarket has agreed to pay an $800,000 settlement and agreed to strict oversight after a California probe found widespread pricing violations. NBC's Joe Fryer.